the world of motor cars, there's a very definite hierarchy. If you're doing well, you have a BMW. If you're doing very, very well, you have a Porsche. But if you're doing terribly, fantastically, incredibly well indeed, then you have to join a very special club. A club that the rest of us can only dream of. We can only see it through a showroom window. A club with only 100 members. A club that has an entry price of over £600,000. Welcome to the world of the super rich. Welcome to the world of McLaren.
You're watching a McLaren F1 travel from 0 to 100 and back again to 0 in just 11.4 seconds. That's a world record. And so is this. The highest average speed round a circuit, 195 miles an hour. The McLaren F1 is the fastest production road car in the world with a maximum speed of 240. Another record. The McLaren story starts with Bruce McLaren, a racing driver who competed with the likes of Stirling Moss, Jack Brabham and Jim Clark. In 1966 he started his own Formula One team, and from there they went on to become the most successful team in Grand Prix history. McLaren made champions out of James Hunt, Emerson Fittipaldi, Niki Lauda, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. And 1988 was their finest hour, winning 15 out of 16 Grand Prix races. And it was on the way back from the 88 Italian Grand Prix that four of McLaren's luminaries, killing time at Milan Airport, came up with the idea of building the ultimate road car. Present were Gordon Murray, the team's technical director, Ron Dennis, McLaren's boss, Mansour Ojay, president of parent company TAG, and Crichton Brown, a McLaren director.
It started off just relaxed conversation, then got fairly serious because we were discussing really where the group should go, and Ron was keen to expand the base beyond Formula One.
We felt a new challenge was required.
It was an exciting idea to build the finest road car we possibly could.
So it just sort of it gelled pretty quickly after that, really.
But planning the finest supercar in the world, never mind building it, took much longer than everybody expected. After that excited meeting at an Italian airport in September 1988, it would be 4 long years before McLaren was even ready to tell the world what they were doing. And in that time, they got through a river of midnight oil and a whole hill of money.
The design would draw on all of McLaren's Formula One expertise, with Gordon Murray hand-picking a dedicated team to run the project. The brief sounded simple, the exposition impossible. Build the finest and fastest road car in the world and build it without compromise. Oh, and make sure it looks absolutely gorgeous.
I think from the beginning, I certainly had an idea that we didn't want a car with lots of sort of overt aerodynamic appendages on it, because those are a bit like sticking plasters that kind of, you know, suggest that you didn't do the initial shape job very well. The sort of easy route with supercars is to make them enormously big. Then they're imposing and impressive just because of the sheer size of the thing, you know, and the amount of ground it takes up. But that then is pretty darn difficult to drive, you know, and if you're constantly worrying about not being able to see even the corner of your garage or a gate post driving out of your house, then that's a pain actually, really not a lot of fun. So we knew it wanted to be small.
Small and light, very light, which is why the body was carbon fibre, the wheels magnesium alloy and the underpinnings titanium. Each McLaren is made up of 5,000 of the lightest components possible.
Here's some details actually, just to show you how fanatical we were about weight. These two bits are the steering column and the steering shaft in the car. Together normally these would weigh 10 or 12 kilograms on a normal car, and these two together weigh about 1.5. When it came to the engine, I was adamant about the configuration, that it should be a V12, big capacity and normally aspirated.
BMW built the epic power plant, and although it weighed 16 kilograms more than promised, the 6.1-litre engine pushed out 650 brake horsepower, 100 more than brief. And such power creates an awful lot of heat, which is why the engine compartment is lined with the best heat reflector you can get, pure gold. But the greatest revolution is where you sit.
So the big surprise was that Gordon had settled on this packaging idea with the central driver's seat and passengers either side, because McLaren, being a Formula One based company, they wanted a car which really gave the customer some of the impressions of what it was like to drive in a Formula One car.
On the 23rd of December 1992, right on schedule, chassis number 1 was driven for the very first time.
I think the first drive must be one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. I mean, even though it was just literally trundling around the car park behind the factory, and the car really did look the part, to actually sit in the thing for the first time, especially with that driving position in the middle, sort of racing car position, was just, I mean, fairy tale stuff.
Where better to launch the F1 than Monaco on Grand Prix weekend? McLaren took over the sporting club and invited the beautiful, the famous, and the bald.
One of the most fascinating things was that really up to the launch nobody knew what the car was going to be, and to try to keep it secret for 2.5 years, believe me, was not easy. And I'm happy to say that there were a few gasps when the curtain went up, so to speak.
And this is what McLaren was up against. The competition. The Porsche 959, the Ferrari F40 and the Jaguar XJ220. But ironically, fate had dealt McLaren a rather good set of cards, because Jaguar allowed speculators to get involved with the launch of the 220. The market became a bear garden and prices crashed. The Italians said they would build just 400 F40s, but being Italians, they built over 1,000, so its cachet was immediately diluted. The 959, awesomely competent though it was, looked far too much like the stock 911. It wasn't separate, it wasn't distinctive enough. No, the undisputed leader of the pack was still the McLaren F1, the world's most exclusive sports car. But McLaren were faced with a rather ticklish problem: the price tag. £634,500. There followed rather a lot of head-scratching as to how they were to market the world's first $1 million motor car.
You certainly can't high-pressure sell something like a McLaren F1. There's a very small number of individuals in the world who are in a position to buy this kind of a car. Most of them know each other, so you have to understand that network and be a little bit inside it.
Each F1 took 3 months to make, and each was handcrafted. Buyers could choose any colour they wanted and any style of interior. The F1 is literally tailored to your own specifications.
This is what we call the seating butt. This is where we do the seat fitting for customers. Get the customer in the seat and ask him to adjust the seat for the gear lever, because that's the one piece that we can't move. Adjust the steering column up and down and in and out to suit his position. We record those settings and transfer them to his car.
And when you went to the factory to pick up your brand new McLaren, you were in for some rather agreeable surprises. Let's start with this. You got your very own golf bag, tailored perfectly to fit into the passenger seat. Despicable game. How about this? Fitted luggage, which goes in there, and there's an identical one on the other side, and each piece is embossed with the car's chassis number. You also got a watch, again with the chassis number on the face, and if you want the watch you have to buy the car. making this the most expensive watch in the world. The handbook, a thing of beauty and a joy forever, with little diagrams that look like they've been drawn by Michelangelo. But the pièce de résistance is the toolkit, the mother of all toolkits. How about this for a torque wrench? This is so your wheels do not fall off at 240 miles an hour. You've got everything here. Spanners, pliers, screwdrivers, everything. The idea of this is if you have a problem, a fault, anywhere in the world, you of course take your toolkit with you, and McLaren will fly a man out from the factory. He meets you, and he's got everything he needs here to sort the car out. But the best bit of all, the bit that is straight out of science fiction, is this. Every car comes with its own dedicated modem. You plug this into the car, and you can talk to the factory. So if there's a fault, the factory will tell you exactly what it is, at what speed it occurred, the temperature of the oil pressure, the temperature of the water, everything. There's even a story that there was a German who claimed he was commuting to work every morning on the autobahns at 200 miles an hour. Everybody thought this was bravado, puff. But when the factory interrogated the modem, it turned out it was absolutely true. The madman was going to work every morning at 200. But selling a car capable of such prodigious speeds meant that McLaren felt obliged to offer a driving lesson. This was mine, and you start off nice and gently.
Well, the main point to be made by this exercise is that what comes out of the rear wheels is in direct proportion to what you do with your right foot. You decide how fast you want to go, nobody else and nothing else. The purpose of an exercise like this is so that we can illustrate to the customer that there is no need to drive it like a hooligan. You can drive it gently, and we will up the pace in a little while and illustrate how the car feels when it's going faster, and we'll demonstrate the maximum acceleration.
Maximum acceleration sounds like my turn. We're going to start off in second because there is so much torque available, and here we go.
Well, you're already going too fast. You're supposed to be pottering around this time.
240, and it feels completely and utterly docile, very stable. Just going to put some anchors on now. I touched 175. I imagined it to be absolutely and completely pant-wettingly terrifying, but it's not.
Well, it doesn't have to be. If you want to terrify yourself, it has the ability to do it, but of course it's only up to you, not the car.
This is the best driving lesson I have ever had. But once you've paid for your F1, the bills don't stop coming in. Regular servicing means invoices that would make even the Duke of Westminster gulp.
So we like to see the cars every 9 months. A 9-month service would typically cost £2,000 to £3,000. An 18-month service, which is a somewhat larger version, can cost up to £10,000.
McLaren may have always intended the F1 to be a road car, but they'd also designed the perfect race car, and some owners wanted to take it to the track.
It wasn't a huge job. I think I had 1 day in the wind tunnel to turn it into a race.
Rapidly entered F1s went to Le Mans in '95 and finished 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 13th, the best debut by a manufacturer ever. And to celebrate the achievement, 5 rather special road cars were built. The F1 LM. The LM has an extra 50 brake horsepower, weighs 80 kilograms less and costs £850,000. All of which means that there have been 6 incarnations of the F1. The standard car, the LM, the long-tail version, and 3 different sorts of race car. In total, 100 McLarens were built, and every single last one has been sold. But what I need to know is, who is it that owns a McLaren? Who has over 600 grand to spend on a road car? What do they look like? What do they do? Where do they live? How much money have they got? Well, we don't know. because when we asked McLaren, they behaved like the CIA. They are obsessively secretive, I suppose quite properly, about their clients' confidentiality. And of the 100 cars in the world and the 100 owners, we could only find one who was prepared to stand up and be counted. His name is James Munro, and he's an accountant. Not only does he have his own road car, but a long-tail racing version and a whole backup team of mechanics and technicians. So take me back to the first time you got in this car. What must that sensation have been like?
I was scared, honestly. It was, we were down at a test track, and it was the scariest thing you can ever imagine, because you're suddenly driving this car that's capable of such huge speeds. And it's not just the ultimate speed, it's the pickup and the power that you can generate. You just put your foot down in first and you feel the car's going to kick sideways. I mean, I was genuinely scared. It's very intimidating on the road, without question. People do notice you. It's a very small car when you actually think it's a lot bigger than it is. Driving in the centre position is very strange on a standard road. You're suddenly trying to position going around a roundabout, and you suddenly realise you're in the middle of the road when you should be tucked into the left. All these things take time to get used to. I have been down to the shops in it with the wife and my son. I've done 170 on the M40 once. But you've got to be aware of that speed and the whole speed differential. Boys have toys and you do stupid things because of cars. If you put your sensible trousers on, let's say you go and buy yourself a Fiesta diesel. But what's the point of doing that? You know, you're a chap, you're a petrol head, you've got adrenaline. Those three added together is a pretty pungent cocktail, to be honest. There's no owners club. They're very confidential. You are an owner. You have a direct line into the factory should there be any need, and that's where it ends. I mean, they support the car mechanically, as they should do, but in terms of other benefits, no, you don't get a McLaren umbrella when you join the club or anything like that.
Other owners that we do know of include Boss Ron Dennis, Gordon Murray, Mansour OJ, Ralph Lauren, he's got 2, Liam Howlett of The Prodigy, Rowan Atkinson, George Harrison, Elton John, and the Sultan of Brunei has 5. Production of the F1 has finished, and McLaren aren't building any more. They've perfected perfection. So world records apart, what has it achieved? Well, it hasn't made McLaren the richest car manufacturer in the world, not by a long way. According to Ron Dennis, the project is only just in the black. You could argue, robustly, that the world doesn't need cars like this, that there's no sense, no logic to them. But for me, the achievement of that car is that it is a singularly British thing. It may have a BMW engine, but it is designed and built by British people. It proves that this country can still do it, and can do it much, much better than the Germans and the Italians. And that is the best bit of all.